Game 3 of this series between Kaizi Gaming and, of course, Team GP in the Gold Series Team Championship, formerly known as the China Team Championship. Just a quick intro. We might be putting this one up on YouTube, so you might be joining and be like, well, Wardy, why is it already 2-0? Basically, the way this format works is that two players come out, and then they play two maps against each other, then the next two players come out. And basically, the first two maps was Time versus Go-Go Joey, and they just weren't that good. So if I upload this to YouTube, I'm not going to add games 1 and 2. You really didn't miss anything at all. But we might upload these games alongside the Super and INnoVation games, which will happen for maps 5 and 6. All 6 maps are played no matter what here, so even if this goes to a 4-0 for Kaizi, you still get play games number 5 and 6 afterwards. So just a little bit of an intro as to what you're watching and what to expect, and maybe explain why we're 2-0 up in this and why we're joining midway through, etc. I just thought this could be a cool one. As in the bottom left side, our blue Protoss player is Deer, taking on the red Terran player in the top right hand side, Bomber. So again, Bomber represents Team GP. They are 1-1 in the league. And Deer represents Kaizi Gaming, who are 2-2 in the league, after obviously a different amount of matches played from either of these teams so far. Kaizi really looking for a win today. They're one of the league favorites. They've had a single upset so far and a loss against probably the only other team really favored over them. So, yeah, really just kind of Kaizi looking to get back on track, up to a winning record. Up to a winning record. I used all the wrong W's and R's there, didn't I? Up to a winning record, and then going from there as this probe coming around the back of the natural, and is just going to be hiding here and waiting for the Reaper to, well, not really move out. Was a little bit off on the timing, so tries to be annoying, but the Reaper was actually right there. So Bomber's able to come in and shut that down. Of course, really cool to see Bomber in the Gold Series Team Championship, picked up by Team GP, who came in as a late replacement for Chivo Esports. They disbanded, and yeah, Bomber, I mean, we've been seeing him in some GSL qualifiers. We've seen him in some tournaments here and there, some qualifiers elsewhere, and some online events. It's just really cool to see him in what is one of the larger events in Korea at the moment, or I guess out of China, but featuring a lot of the Korean players this team championship. Really cool to see Bomber getting a chance to play in this, and means that we get to cast some Bomber every single week, which is obviously really awesome. And look at this, Bomber is just going to go full Bomber. 3cc, I mean, he was the player, if you kind of new to StarCraft, you might not know who Bomber is. Bomber's a real legend to StarCraft 2, and he actually was the player who created, like, 3cc in Terran versus Zerg, and you might think, what, he created it? It's used every single game now? Yeah, that's how big a revolution he had on the meta. He just used to build 3cc insane macro, and he just used to rally and kill his opponents, and it was kind of incredible way back in the days of Wings of Liberty. That's how long Bomber's been a player for, of course, returning from some military service more recently. But pretty sick. Very cool to see, as we do have this Adept taking a couple of shots here, trying to Adept Shade Trick the Widow Mine, which will actually just unburrow to keep itself alive. So good play by Bomber, as Deer will not do as much as I think he would like to with this aggression. The Adept gets pushed away. Still is Widow Mine at the front. I like the repair on this. He's going to try and Adept Shade Trick it again. Widow Mine will just again lift up and go down. He actually loses the Reaper, but again, the Widow Mine is there, and now you don't have the Adept, and so you actually have to give up a Stalker to get through the front, and Deer will not want to commit to that. So this is going to be a pretty fun fight at the front, which doesn't really go the way of one way over the other. And Bomber will keep those units out of his natural expansion, as the Robo came up early here. That's going to be Gravitic Drive, I guess, queuing up. Sorry, no, it's not. It's a Colossus. I completely derped in my head there. You know, I saw the Colossus, I was like, oh, he could Colossus drop it. I was like, oh, he could start Gravitic Drive. I'm on the wrong Robo unit structure. It is Gravitic Drive. So what went through my head was right. It's just my brain derped in relaying the information to you guys. So he's going to go for the Warp Prism Speed and the Colossus. So he's actually going to try and Colossus drop for some damage. This is something we've seen Zest doing a lot of. It's surprisingly effective. And of course, you do take a later third base with this, but that's something which, you know, you come out on in the end, you're like, okay, well, later third, it can work out. Was an Observer kill there by Bomber as well, so that's nicely spotted and taking away some of the vision of Deer, especially when he's going to be building Colossus. It's obviously very time-consuming on the Robo, so you don't have a lot of time to really spend rebuilding the observers, etc. So catch one of those is very nicely done. Here we go, Warp Prism into the main. Gonna take a Widow Mine shot to start though. This is gonna be very low HP. It immediately means that this Warp Prism is gonna have to be very careful. There's already a turret on this top left-hand side. And as well as the turrets. One on the bottom side as well. So it's actually gonna be kind of tough to find a way out of this. That Prism has to be super careful. No. No. Oh, it's dead. Cyclone lock on. Cyclone lock on with the turret. Okay, it's dead and this Colossus is in trouble. I don't think he can recall it out of here either, so he's just going to have to try and trade. But Dia loses out in the early stages. That's a big deal. Just going to see our Stalkers from Dia coming up to the top side. Just going to see our Bio Army getting set up to go. Orbital Command are going to be landing down. Scans the Observer, takes it down as well. +1 attack, stim pack, combat shields. All of this continue to build up as Marauders will be in production. A few Stalkers coming up in towards the between of the natural and the third base. Well, then, this is an interesting game because obviously Dia's open and is kind of unique in itself, but then to lose the Prism and to lose the Colossus already, you not only lose your map control, but you lose a key part of what's meant to be your, the key structures, the key units of your army composition. So to lose one of them is, to lose a Colossus like that is kind of crazy. Bomber will load up a dropship and get that going. Two medevacs around this upper left-hand side. Hallucination up towards the top of this. There's a couple of Marines able to pick away at the hallucination. It very nearly goes down, but Dia will get in for full info. Of course, there's not much to be seen. He actually sees, I guess actually it kind of is, Barracks 6 and 7 and no sign of any kind of factory production, right? So that's pretty important info. I mean, this is not super crazy because it is via Colossus. But usually you give up on factory production, you go double starport Colossus, the factory builds a reactor. This is actually just mass bio out of Bomber, so a little bit of a different way of approaching this. One still has these two medevacs out over the left-hand side. Oh, he's going to lose one at the front as the little bit of bio here will turn and get rid of a few Stalkers. And he's going to come dropping into the natural, but the first medevac gets denied, second medevac goes down, and that's an amazing defense here from Dia, who will just clean up in an instant. So Dia shuts down there very easily, very quickly. As you have +2 attack, +1 armor on the way from Bomber in the natural expansion scan. On top of his army, looking for an observer again before he loads up 3 more medevacs. He's now started to build up Viking production. Of course, this Viking's going to be quite important in all of this. Alright, coming through, a couple of probes going down as we do see the Nexus and the Natural be in trouble, but of course Dia's in position across the map to come in and able to come through and start fighting. Of course, Bomber will be lacking units here defensively with this amount of units across the map. So what can Bomber make of this? Can he somehow find a way to stabilize in the main base or so for the base trade? It's going to be a little bit difficult as the bunker goes down. Units continue to die on the upper left side of this. More SCVs dropping as in the main base. Bio units still doing okay, don't get me wrong. So I guess this is alright if this bio survives, but then how is this bio ever going to fight this Protoss army? I mean, it obviously just is not. And that's obviously part of the issue. If you can never really fight this Protoss army, even if it's in a base trade scenario right now, eventually this Protoss army can start sending some units back to defend, and it's going to be a major issue. There's a couple of Stalkers for some reason ahead of the rest. As Dia will just continue to pick away these racks, but you can see the supplies dropping heavily for Bomber, and He knows the space trade doesn't go his way. There's already units walked in defensively at home from Dia. And so Dia will clean up to take the first map against Bomber here. And the third map for his team in this overall best of 7. 1 map away from victory. Game 4 of the series. Game 2 of Dia, our Blue Protoss player, versus Bomber, a Red Terran player. And it will be Golden Wall to continue us on in these matches. Some probes going boosting out. Dia will be coming out the front, and just seeing the scout here early from Dia. We'll see what he wants to do this game. Obviously, pretty bad start from Dia, losing the Colossus drop, but was able to turn it around. And we do expect Dia to be the favorite in this, don't get me wrong. I was just talking in between the games about how Bomber is typically kind of still playing StarCraft 2 as though it's still 2011. And that's obviously not quite working out in 2020. It doesn't mean he's bad, it just means he has his own style, and I think that takes you a long way, but it only takes you so far overall, you know? As you have the Cybercore from Dia dropping down in the main base, so we'll go Nexus before the core. It is a larger map, so one where you quite often don't bother bringing aggression across. And also because of this, because here you can see that Bomber's going to expand towards this low ground over here, so eventually we'll start mining these mineral patches. So you mine out these mineral patches and you kind of create that access point down towards the natural expansion. I don't think you can be too old. You don't believe in the hands getting slower thing. I think it's tough though, because StarCraft really is a game of like, it's not just your hands, it's your mind as well, right? And it's reactions and it's processing things, and I think there's a lot of different aspects to it where age definitely does have something of a negative impact. And I don't think you're ever gonna say that these guys are never gonna be able to, you know, older guys are never gonna be able to be competitive. But I think you'd struggle to see. I think that a lot of the older players that will have success are players who were just that good before, and are carried, you know, maybe more carried by experience. Whereas a lot of these youngsters are just fast. They're good at responding. They're good at reacting. They're good at learning and adapting. It's an interesting discussion, I suppose. All across the board, as we do see this stim pack from Bomber starting up. So he actually went 3cc and a 2 racks this time. So he's going to have early stim. He's not going to go into any early factory units or anything. And yeah, good economy. Plus an early bio play. I mean, it just feels like Bomber all over. It's Bomber in his prime. It's the exact sort of thing he wants to be playing. This is Bomber living his best life right now. If you could pick a build order to describe Bomber, it would probably look like this, right? So yeah, it's very Bomber-esque. 30 racks coming in, so you will just continue with the bio focus for a little while. Observer comes across over this left-hand side and gets into the main base. There's a little bit of biode coming down towards the natural. Game just settles down. I mean, didn't talk too much about what Dia's doing, but with the robo opener, the answer is just not really a lot. He'll sit back a little bit and take a slow 3 bases as he goes into Colossus again, so similar to the last game, but not exactly the exact same ideas, right? I mean, he's going Colossus, but he's not going to bother Warp Prism dropping this time. Thing is here, he's going to have a Colossus out before this army arrives, and so you're already going to be fighting this Bioforce with the Colossus, and that just does not bode well for Bomber being able to get in here and deal some damage. So Bio pressing up and stimming straight through. He's going to get the shield battery right away. I mean, the army of Dia was up on the main base, so a little out of position, but comes down. I mean, you only lose a shield battery. Remember that these units do not have medevacs with them, so whenever they stim, it's, for the moment, permanent damage. So if they stim a second time to try and take a fight, then, well, then they aren't having a good time. Again, +1 attack halfway done. Combat shields building in the main base as we do see a 4th and a 5th racks now starting up. And this time we will see a second starport from Bomber. I like this a little bit more. Actually really showing some respect for the Colossus so early. And showing something of a response to it rather than just saying, oh yeah, I'm just going to play Bio and drop around. Now Dia's just coming across the map. He's gone up to 6 gateways and extended thermal lens looks to be done soon. So he's just going to go for this 2 Colossus push and see if he can do something. This Bioforce never went home though. So Bomber still has an attack on the map. There is nothing currently in the natural. Now Colossus on the way. But yeah, there's nothing already here, right? So pushing up, couple pylons, going to maybe in some trouble. He comes in, kills a Warping Zealot right away. These couple Stalkers won't last very long. And Probes pulled in. Well, they're going to die. What can he do at the front? A bunker? 3 bunkers and a wall off. Well, maybe actually Bomber can hold over there. As a lot of probes will continue to go down. This army of Dia sneaks down to the bottom side. The bunker taking some extra shots and, well, it's surviving. Bio units. Oh, the Colossus, though, is so good against them. He's going to try and come in just to fight another couple units or so. Obviously, the Colossus damage is pretty intense. This Bomber needs an army. That's his issue. Obviously, he lost all of those units across the map. They are not here. And he's not really killed a lot of army of Dia. He's just killed workers, which has an impact a few minutes from now. But what about right now? What about surviving in this moment? Well, that's going to be tough as these 2 Vikings coming through. They decide what they want to shoot down. They're going to go for the Prism. They will get it. Keeps the bunker alive a very long time. But now force field's coming down. First bunker drops. However, more Vikings show up. Here go the Colossus dropping. Is that enough? Can he then win this out with the Bio units against what is it, just a gateway force and a Maul mixed in too? Probably have to land the Vikings. Oh no, but the Colossus just showed up. Oh no, new Colossus shows up just as the Vikings land. However, a lot of the Stalkers going down. This is more of a defense than what we were originally seeing. Next few Vikings going to show up as well. A single Marauder trying to do what it can. But this is kind of crazy. There's a couple of Vikings going to go straight to this Colossus, and I think this Colossus just dies. There's not the anti-air you really need for this, as he's going to grab the Immortals. It tries to leave. Now he'll chase the Stalker. Now he's going to get the Sentry as well. Wow. Gets everything here. And Bomber does clean up in the end. What a defense from that position. Bomber makes it work as this Viking comes down the bottom side towards the low ground. Factory of Bomber out in the middle of the map. Going to be seeing a couple of sentries from Dia warping in. Stalkers, a Zealot or 2, the Colossus. All of this from Dia moving out into the middle of the map. So away it goes. See where he can get to and what he can get up to. There's a few Marauders on the way as well. A couple of extra refineries coming out. And Dia just still 2 base in it. He still hasn't taken an expansion of his own. Bomber on 3 bases. That's the great thing, right? Bomber holds on a base lead. Now, obviously, Dia coming from a different direction is nice and all, but all it takes is Bomber to run up to that side and get into position. Obviously, because he's a base up, he can somewhat even lose this base slash... Maybe not lose the base, but if you save the CC and bring it into the main base instead, it should be fine. This is such an old school... I feel like you don't need to go into the bottom corner and then along the bottom on this map, but... You will. Here comes this army. I mean, right now these medevacs might actually want to come back home. Help to defend against this. These SCVs do not get force fielded out as Bomber tries to take a position on top of his ramp. Vikings, well, they have some work to do. These medevacs did turn back around. I was going to say, if they come in from the other side and make something of a flank of this, obviously that could improve situations. You see the Vikings doing some damage. The issue I'm worried about is if these units come in from the backside and, well, I guess they're going to get... Oh my god, it's pure Marauders. They're not even going to get the Prism. Well, they are going to find these Stalkers with kind of nowhere to really run. I guess now the Stalkers run deeper into the main, where there's a couple of Zealots already leading the charge, but it seems like it's enough, and that will be it. Bomber is going to do it. And he wins the map against Deer, and he puts Team GP on the scoreboard. Hell yeah for Bomber. Making this exciting as we go into INnoVation versus Super for games number 5 and 6 as our next games here. In the top right-hand side, our Red Protoss player from Team GP. This is Super. And in the bottom left, our Blue Terran player is INnoVation, representing Kaizi Gaming. They are one map away from victory again. At this point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put the last 2 games in these 2 games, or maybe an ace match if we get there on YouTube. So again, if you guys are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Helps out a whole bunch. Just hit 17,500 YouTube subs, by the way, so 75% of our way to the goal for the year, which is 20,000. We start the year at 10,000. Thank you so much for all of that support. So yeah, this is obviously game 5 and 6. The players change after every 2 maps. If it does get tied up by Super, game 7, the ace match is decided at the time. The teams can pick who they're going to send out to play. So we shall see. And again, games 1 and 2 were time beating up Go Joey pretty quickly and pretty badly. Not gonna lie, as you do see the SCV chasing around this probe. INnoVation. That's gonna be again another SCV down, chasing this probe, getting some good damage onto it. And a very good job of this, as we do have our command center dropping. And our probe is Super just moving back out into the center of the map. Cybernetics core going to be finishing up in the main. Factory drops down in the main base as well. Barracks going to start a reactor. So a reactor coming through is we're just going to be having the SCV of INnoVation coming down the bottom left-hand side. And the setup here in general just looks very standard, of course. So, coming out of a TVP with Deer and Bomber, which was very, you know, kind of a couple of Robo openers. I'd be surprised to see Super opening Robo as well. INnoVation looks like he kind of wants to almost build a proxy starport, but maybe in fact he just wants to... No, he is going to do it. I was going to say maybe he's just looking for a proxy of his opponent or something hidden on the map, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't really make sense where he was, so... It's just going to find a good place to build a starport. As his reactor and Hellion, so he will have that Hellion drop coming up very quickly. That will be his goal. Needs these Hellions right now. Push this Adept back and help him out a little bit. He's going to let the Adept come in if it wants to. Hey, it's actually kind of interesting because if this Adept comes in, it's going to see the lack of starport, and I think that's already a reason to start questioning a little bit. 2 Hellions. You really don't want to lose one of these, of course, but INnoVation can't avoid it as... Now this Stalker is going to get a Marine, and this Hellion is going to take a beating as well. It tries to chase the Stalker off. 2 more Hellions on the way out, but I mean, look how out of sync these Hellions are going to be with the medevac. Now, usually you build this medevac across the map so everything ties up a little bit faster, but I think the Hellions might be late to the party here. And of course, there's only going to be 3 of them. Now, 3 Hellions do still one-shot probes, so there is, of course... Still one-shot potential in this, but yeah, these Hellions would generally be here now, picked up instantly by the medevac, and away you go. So definitely a little delayed. Man, Deer has no vision in the corner of his main, though. Oh, well, he warps a couple of Stalkers in, so he will get it. I think he's aware of what this can be and what the options are from INnoVation, so he's going to put all of his Stalkers pretty much in the main base. And we'll see if that's going to be enough, because, you know, 3 Hellions can still get by these Stalkers and get a few workers here. He's going to lose 1 Hellion pretty quickly. Good probe pull. Blocks the Hellions from getting too much deeper there. Because that's going to be 3 probe kills. He gets the Hellion dropped back down again. I don't know if he wanted to go for this lower health one on the top side. Then he just didn't control it. Medevac will try and boost away as you actually have 2 Widow Mines as a follow-up. And then Cloak Banshees is the next part of the build. So INnoVation trying to be very tricky with this build. Trying to really make the most of this. So here we go, 2 Widow Mines loading up and going to come around this top side. Probe comes to the corner, dropping down a pylon, and Medevac going to go boosting. Widow Mines drops the first, drops the second. And the probes will pull away. He's actually going to blow up just a couple workers, nothing overly crazy there then. As you will see, this Widow Mine gets cleaned out also. So Widow Mine's cleaned up. The Banshee's still being built. This one coming around the top side. The next one coming through here soon. It's going to see the Cloak going to be finishing shortly as well. There's a few Stalkers still coming around to the bottom. And just going to be hanging around. So these Stalkers chilling. Observer comes up. Stalkers will blink up into the main base. Siege tank fires and deals some good damage. Observer of Super moves forwards just to see what's up. The other few Stalkers coming back down, and they actually clean up a little bit as well. So just I think an SCV that was out there, or maybe just some I don't know actually. I feel like everything was already dead. Well, here come the Cloak Banshees, and this is going to be really bad for Super. All the Stalkers out of position on the map, and INnoVation with the 2 Banshees at once, it means he's just going to one-shot probes, and he doesn't do the best job of target firing right away, but 7, 8 probes down already. Okay, these Stalkers have blink. Where's the nearest observer? Is it here? I actually don't see it just yet, as there's going to be seeing 15 workers going down. It's a lot of damage, as INnoVation does lose one of the 2 Banshees, but this obviously works out. The starport has moved away from that tech lab, so there will be no more Banshees, but the damage is already pretty insane, right? You get 15 kills like this right off the bat. You're already in a great position. This medevac, by the way, is still just hanging out here, low on HP. We'll see if it can somehow find a way to escape out. INnoVation finally starting the 3rd base, so he has been obviously a little bit late going in towards 3 bases, but obviously a lot of pressure put on by him, and now the 3CC and the 4th and 5th racks coming through. And we've got the Observer of Super back around the top side. 1-1 upgrades coming in, extended thermal lens on the Robo Bay going to be done shortly. Just going to be seeing this Observer continuing along as well. Well, tank's going to unsiege Marines out the front. Banshee took a shot of damage, and the Observer going to keep track of it. There's a few Stalkers and units in general from Super coming across the map. I feel like he's just saying, well, maybe if I attack now before my lack of economy really kicks in, but yeah, 4 siege tanks INnoVation say no, you will not. Super also not finished up the 1-1 upgrades yet. No, don't do it. Oh, no, no, you don't know what you're doing. Oh my god. 2 sentries just get removed from the game. That's actually funny, because he was actually stood in tank range initially, but INnoVation didn't have the vision to actually fire. So it could have been even worse for Super. Because I actually think the first, I guess it maybe wouldn't have made much difference compared to when he moved in. Because obviously you take the first shot, you realize, and you move out, but pressing forwards, INnoVation taking a few losses. Good kiting by Super. This Banshee's still waiting to maybe get itself back into the action as well. 1-1 upgrades will finish from Super here in a moment. Does that matter against these siege tanks? Now, I kind of want to say it will not, as that's a big stim, and a lot of these Stalkers already going down. And he's going to blink in for the tanks. That's the end of the Stalkers then. They will just not kill these tanks in time. Yeah. Well, the tanks actually didn't know what they wanted to target fire. Okay, not a fan of this. So what INnoVation did here was he started off by killing Stalkers, right? And then he started target firing Colossus. Then realized that maybe the Stalkers are going to be alive long enough to actually kill the tanks. So he went back to the Stalkers, so there's a little bit of indecision in terms of what he was targeting. Now, it doesn't really matter because he's so far ahead anyways, he is still going to win out, but if this was a bit of a closer game, that's the sort of indecision which can really hurt. Either you target the Colossus straight away, so they're taken down very quickly and you save more of the bio, or you get rid of the Stalkers very quickly so the tanks survive longer. But that was really just the in-between that you didn't want to have happen, as this is going to be the dead Colossus. The War Prison doesn't get the lift off. Super will leave, and that means Kaizi Gaming will win the series. Of course, we do still play game number 6 no matter what, guys, so that 6th game still comes up. We'll talk about why that can still be important when we go into it. Game 6 of the series. It's down in the bottom right-hand side. Our red Protoss player from Team GP is Super. Taking on the Blue Terran in the top left-hand side, INnoVation from Kaizi Gaming. At a 4-1 scoreline, this series is over in the sense that Kaizi have won it. We still play all 6 maps. The reason for that is a combination of map scores. It gives the Chinese Team League, a set length of the game, so it sells it to their sponsors correctly. It also gives the Chinese players a chance to play if they're sent out in, the final 2 maps. It means that they still get their chance to shine, which is one of the main parts of the league. So while a game like this isn't super important, there's still a lot of other benefits going on. There's still a lot of other benefits going on in the meanwhile, or in the meantime, sorry, because someone got mad at me for saying that the other day. For kind of players winning here, and a reason to take it somewhat seriously. INnoVation opens with the proxy racks, though. I get seen right away. Super is gonna see what's up, and this SCV is trying to dart his way to victory. Can he keep this alive? INnoVation? No, he cannot. Does that just end this game? Does INnoVation just leave? Okay, there's a new SCV coming, so he will just try and finish this. Obviously, it's a big delay in a lot of ways. Oh, now oh, that's still not the good spot, right? He still can't. He can still be hit from here. Actually, by 2 workers. Okay, but he will still finish and get the Reaper on the way. But now that's the 2nd probe kill. That's obviously a pretty big deal. So, yeah, it looks as though Super saw this when he came across to place down this pylon. That's a bit of a too close of a proxy from INnoVation then, perhaps. So, this Reaper going to pop out. Of course, from INnoVation, this slows down his orbital command because the barracks was delayed. The factory is then delayed. So it's obviously not a great start at all. As you do see this Reaper popping up in toward the main base. As Stalker comes in, Reaper will be pushed away through the upper side and out in towards the center of the map. Stalker from Super continues to the upper left, so we'll go and put on some pressure into a base which doesn't really have much on it at the moment. 2 Reapers from Inno coming in. Adept gonna get bopped. Let's see this Adept gonna try and shade in after this. If you could kill a Reaper, that would be great. He tries to get high ground vision to get away, but doesn't make it there just yet. As do you have a Reaper going in towards the natural. A few probes are going to pull, and the Reaper will hop up into the main base there. So he's just going to get through to try and get a couple of extra shots off. I mean, nice grenade. Bops the Adept. Will actually work his way back around. Keeps the Reaper alive and gets to see 2 gateways plus the Twilight Council. So good scouting for INnoVation. Tells you that Super's going to be rather aggressive, right? To go the 2 gateways that early on. No roper facility just yet. Should be a little bit afraid of the potential of the Stalkers just coming in and fighting and what is essentially somewhat of a Blink Stalker all-in, I suppose. Rax will continue forwards and just going to drop down in this main base. Finally able to make itself back home, as we do see 2 more barracks building up here. And our siege tank is going to get sieged as the orbital command can lift up and move down to the natural expansion. Robotics facility, not far from completing either here from Super, so we'll get that completed and get that onto the map. Let's see our Adept on the 3rd base, just kind of watching for anything that gets placed in position. In the end, Inno going to start moving these Banshees out. He didn't invest into Cloak. I think he was kind of just afraid of an attack, and then this attack never came, so now he'll try and do some damage with the Banshees. But again, no Cloak on these, so they're pretty likely to go down rather quick. Obviously, a lot of this depends on... I wonder if he's maybe still actually expecting the attack to come, but then he's going to be hoping this Banshee hits when the Stalkers move out. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. And of course, you don't necessarily need Cloak for that. Now, Super might see this with this pylon. There's a probe being used around that 3rd base when the Banshee was flying past. It's very smart from Inno if this is his plan to kind of do it without Cloak. He is waiting, though. Waiting for what? Making sure that the Stalkers are across? It seems like it. I think maybe he's afraid that he's being seen as well, so he just knows there's going to be units there. There should be units there, but in fact there isn't. It would be the perfect time for Inno to strike, as his Stalker's going to blink forwards. The tank was not sieged, so he sees an opportunity. This is where the Banshee becomes very useful, because the Banshee puts out a lot of damage, so when the Stalkers are blinked in like this, they just take a lot of hits, and there's only 2 Stalkers left alive here. Now the Banshee goes to the natural expansion. We'll just sit here and pick away at a few probes. And this Cloakless Banshee's going to have a good time. 3 workers down. Will not find 4 because the Stalkers get recalled, and he's a little afraid of it. Hey, what did he recall? No! He recalled the Observer, and there's no Cloak! Oh... Super. He actually just got played there. He just used the recall for the Observer, and he doesn't even need it. Well, now INnoVation just going to go for a large push, pulling the SCVs along with this. So away we go. Pulling all of these units out across the map. Marines, tanks, Banshees, and SCVs. All of this coming out into the center here. An Observer around this top side. The Stalkers of Super over on the right. Cyclone gets picked off. We're going to be seeing these SCVs still pressing forwards right now. Siege tank doesn't siege up just yet as he pushes up this ramp. Stalkers continue to drop at the moment. 5, 6 SCVs down already. Make that 8, 9. Now these Stalkers still in some trouble. 10 workers lost for INnoVation. Now he's going to start killing probes, of course. This Banshee actually got back in the main to actually kickstart this. Well, the shield batteries at the front won't get much of an opportunity here. These units, are they going to try and go for this before the bunkers are up? He will be able to set up something of a flank because he does have a pylon on the 3rd base over on this right side. Here we go. Stalker's going to go blinking into this. Remember, these Banshees have work to be done. They can put out so much damage in all of this. He loses one of them. The next one takes a lot of damage as well. The probes here, it feels like a lot of these Marines aren't able to really do anything. INnoVation is going to start getting into the bunkers. This Immortal's still alive, never targeted down. He actually gets the SCPs to repair. The bunker on the left side is surviving. There was some split damage as the bunker on the right took a few hits as well, but now the Immortal dead. The Stalkers blink for a siege tank that will go down. Without the siege tank, I really feel like you're in trouble, though, as INnoVation. He presses forward. He's going to find a bunch of Stalkers that already used that blink. He's actually still going in for the kill. Obviously, more units rallying across the map here from Inno. Losing a few more SCVs. I guess these are just the ones at the front, so nothing going on across the map back at home. Just the rallying of units as this Banshee gets caught. We'll clean out the Stalker at least. Obviously, that's not ideal. These Banshees want to be fighting with the other units to take away some of the, focus on the Banshees and them going down too quickly. Stalkers blink in for another siege tank kill, and they'll get it. And now the efficiency here from Super is really starting to add up. He's still at an army supply deficit, but he's getting a lot every time he blinks in, right? It's always a Banshee or a tank, and those are expensive units. Now, that said, the Marines here doing okay for a moment or two. Now he's going to blink to try and stop the Marines getting back in a bunker, but it does mean that then the Stalkers are just sat there taking damage. Super is still permanent. It feels like Super's permanently at 14 supply against 28 of the Terran, who's about to get another siege tank here. Is there enough Stalkers to deal with another siege tank? I love this low ground siege. So the Stalker's going to be in trouble right away. He's actually going to get the Zealots initially. Well, now it means the Stalkers have gone away. I guess he didn't have high ground for the Stalkers. Now we see INnoVation losing a little bit more, and Super has finally properly pushed this back. INnoVation starts double engineering base. It looks like INnoVation's ready into transition. 2nd and 3rd racks up. Gonna get the tech labs going. 4th and 5th racks already queuing as well. I'll not go 3CC just yet. Might just think about taking the main base down to that 3rd location instead. A few Stalkers, the ones that are up, do go to blink in the main base, try and counterattack here. A couple of Marines going down. Just going to be seeing the Stalkers of Super back around the front. Of course, now Stim does start up off the back of this Marine tank Banshee push. Stalkers coming in, blinking through. Tank is going to go down very quickly. Banshee is able to add a Stalker kill to this. Now another tank coming down. I like this pressure from Super, and finally able to get his army supply rolling. In the main base, this Banshee gets pushed back as it gets a couple of probes, so a little bit more harassment. The Stalkers blink forwards again. Once more, Inno is losing those siege tanks, and every time he loses a tank, it's some very important map control that he's, or kind of zone control he's missing out on. It's actually the tank's some of the very important units here for Inno, and now he just really doesn't keep enough of them alive as he's going to come back into this. Stalker's getting pushed back again. The two Banshees together joining up in the natural. And the Banshees put out enough damage to save the day here. And, you know, right now they kind of are. It's coming at the cost of basically all of his Marines. Now he blinks forwards. Banshees will be something of the target here. New Siege Tank Sieges, of course, supersedes all of this thanks to this Observer, which then does get scanned moments after mentioning it. Super not able to finish INnoVation off just yet. And now this obviously gets a bit tougher because now Stimming combat shields are done. 1-1 upgrades well on the way. Definitely in favor over the 1-1 of Super. Super does have a third base, which is obviously a big advantage. But I think INnoVation is obviously with 5 racks just kind of happy to say, yeah, well, I'm all in anyways, right? Stalker's back around this top side. Going to look to blink up in the main. We've seen the Marine gets picked off. Tech Lab denied. Obviously, Tech Labs are still nice to get rid of in case your opponent starts to try and build Marauders against your Stalkers. So now INnoVation has no choice but to build pure Marine, which he was kind of just doing anyways. Fair enough. Stalker around here. Rest rallied. Here's INnoVation's difficulty, right? How do you get across the map right now against a Protoss player who's just blinking around, going one way then the other? Supply Bloxy right now loses a Banshee as he comes too far forwards for too long. And the War Prism towards the main base. Again, Super just has too much pressure to put on here, I think. So these Marines continuing through, the few Stalkers continue to try and pull back. Thanks for Siege as the Prism goes into the main base. Well, Banshee's on the left-hand side, and he's very quick to get on top of this War Prism here, and he will have the units, I think, to shut down this play. Another Zilla drops off, buys a bit more time for the Prism to get out. These Stalkers are still just sat around. INnoVation trying to clear the path with the Marines. He actually did invest into Cloak for the Banshees, so he now does have that. A little bit of an extra help. There's only one Observer on the map, and it's right here. So if you actually get rid of the Observer, you actually do have Banshees that can just come in and do so much. Stalkers again trying to see what can happen. The thing is, of course, you've never seen, Cloak on these Banshees, so why would you be that afraid of it? Did he ever see the Starport Tech Lab researching? He did, so that's why maybe you should be. Tank's gonna Siege. Where's the one Observer? It's just in the middle of the map still pulling back. INnoVation's trying to get into a similar position to what he had before. Banshees are gonna Cloak up. Okay, now you kind of know this. The Observer's right there. He's gonna just get it. Okay, no Observer. Time for the Banshees to go and see what they can do. Immortals, Stalkers, prime targets right now. And they are going to start being targeted as the INnoVation army gets up this ramp. Stalker's going to blink in for the siege tanks here. The Immortals in the back are going to be, well, dealing some damage. The Bio is able to get rid of the rest of these Stalkers here. All the tanks are dead, but the Banshees are going crazy. Of course, Stalkers are probably the MVPs now because you need the Stalkers, otherwise the Banshees are going to overrun. Oh my god, the Banshee numbers are kind of crazy. 2-shotting Stalkers, but there is extra Stalkers warping in. And I think that might just be enough for Super as another tank shows up. Some Marines coming forwards. The Banshees trying to come across. The tank will go down, but the Stalker count is dropping. Of course, you lose all these Stalkers, and then you don't have a way to deal with the Banshees, like I said before. Starting to lose probes in the natural. This very low health tank. He blinks in, he gets it. Another Stalker on the top side goes down. Probes and probes are dropping. INnoVation now is going to be in trouble as these Stalkers chase the Banshees away. He already used his blink Super, and he will have another out of range of the Banshee, if you can believe that. Marines gonna stim in. The Banshees are gonna turn on this for some more damage. Warp Prism Micro to avoid some damage being done. Scan comes down. He tries to target the Observer. He doesn't get it, and that will be the ice on the cake for Super to win this game. Man, that was this was actually a really fun series. Outside of the Time Go Joey games at the start, which we won't show those on YouTube. Some very fun matches, of course. I mean, Bomber and Dio go 1-1. Super and INnoVation go 1-1. Kaizi win the overall series, but a very fun matchup. A very fun matchup overall. GG's, if you were watching this on YouTube, this is absolutely going up. Fun games. Thanks so much for watching. Do hit that subscribe button. See our videos go up again. Don't forget to like and comment as well. And thank you so much for watching, of course. Have a nice day.